Hello, beautiful people. This is Marisa Anglade on Giving You the Tea. And I got the tea. I got the information that every woman should know and be aware of. And we're going to talk about it. Grab your girlfriends, grab your friends, grab your sisters, grab your mother, auntie, all of them, because they need to know this. We're going to talk about the link between menopause, perimenopause, and divorce. For a while, I had this lingering thought that they might be a link, a connection between menopause and perimenopause. Without any study or research I had done, I just had this gut wrenching thought that this could be a thing. And finally, I had the time to sit down and look it up and research and look up articles and read up on it. And sure enough, there is a link between menopause. I'm going to add perimenopause to it because they have some of the same symptoms. And perimenopause and menopause linking and their link towards divorce. You ever wondered, have you ever thought about or just going through it, why would somebody after 20, 30, 40 years in their mid to late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s getting a divorce after so many years of marriage? And we're talking about 20, 30 plus years of marriage and then getting a divorce. So here's my thought. I was having a conversation with a girlfriend and I was telling her, I believe there's a link between menopause and divorce. And the reason being that one of the symptoms of perimenopause and menopause is mood swings. Another is low libido. Another is being irritable, feeling high anxiety, stress, just not feeling normal, that your mind isn't right, the mental health part of it. And I believe that on the woman's side, things they might have dealt with or tolerated or handled differently, better, had they been in their right normal self pre-menopause, perimenopause, would not have led them to a divorce. And then you have on the male side how they view the woman during that stage when neither at the time, pre all the information overload, knew that it had to deal with not the woman just being mean or not feeling love towards you or wanting to be sexual with you. It is because they're going through this thing called perimenopause and menopause. And at that time, before all this information, men and women, husband and wives, did not know that what was really going on, and just looking at each other as enemy of the state. And so with now all this information that we can have, people are still not aware what is going on. I'll share what got me to this, what led me to this. And so when I was going through some of the symptoms of perimenopause, i.e. the mood swings, I guess. I don't know if I should call it mood swings, but I definitely had the mental health component where I had suddenly this high anxiety, high stress, feeling more overwhelmed, just not feeling like myself, not feeling normal, not feeling joyful, just a slew of feelings that just was like, this is not me. I even felt so bad to the point I told my husband, I think I'm dying. I believe if I look back that I did make things a big deal, because I would hear, why are you making this a big deal? Like, why are you saying I'm making this a big deal? It's a big deal to me. Real talk. And so, bless his heart, he's so patient. So all this stuff going on. And I'm like, I need to talk to somebody. And when I finally did, and I'm sharing with them what I'm going through, they said, you don't need a therapist. You are going through hormonal imbalance. And I'm like, what? And I'm thinking, me? That's a whole nother story. And I'm like, okay, this is up my alley. I know what to do. And so, lo and behold, knowing the different variety of things or herbs that can help a woman and the supplements or vitamins that is needed, I look for something that had, a good balance of the two mixed together. And when I got the supplement, we're talking about night and day. I'm talking about I was person A on Monday, and then by Tuesday and Wednesday, I was person B. Two opposite person. We're like, who are you? And who are you? Who are you? It was like a Jekyll and Hyde experience. And I'm thinking, wow, I told my husband, like, oh my gosh, I'm a different person. I'm gonna share a whole story of that because it's funny, hilarious. It is like funny, hilarious, yes. Anyway, so I'm a different person. I'm like, this is scary. It's scary because I was person A to person B. And I'm like, that's scary that you can have, it can change just like that. And I'm like, how many women are going through it? How many women is experiencing the exact same thing that I had experienced? And I'm like, I need to get this to every woman to go through night and day and then see the difference in how you handle your relationship or even with your children. Every woman needs to know this. And so that led me to think about, wait a minute. Could there be a link to menopause and divorce and how it affect the relationship? And so I'm going to read this to you. A study conducted by AARP, found that over 60% of divorces are initiated by women. We already know most divorces that are initiated by women. But here's this. I'm going to read this again from the beginning. A study conducted by AARP found that over 60% of divorces are initiated by women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, which happen to also be during menopausal years. I am putting a presentation together concerning this and everything relating to going through the changes, all the experiences, my experiences. So I'm not only going to share with you research and information, but I'm also going to talk from a personal experience, right? So that you understand this is not just talking at you, this is talking with you. I could see where the mindset that I was at the time, just like it literally happened. Like I just switched to this other person. But then I look back and I'm like, when did this begin? Was this brewing? Like, was I going through perimenopause sooner than I had originally actually paid attention to? And I had my theory, and I spoke to another friend of mine without telling her what I was thinking, who also had gone through perimenopause and actually had gotten to the place of being menopausal. And I asked her, I said to her, when do you think you were seeing, you believe that you, when do you believe that you were experiencing perimenopause? And she said, I believe it was my mid to late 30s. I said, bingo. Because that's what I had thought for myself. Because when I go back later and I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was going through perimenopause. At least when I could first pinpoint it was at 37. And then I recall a friend of mine who's about several years older than I, and she was going through perimenopause in her 30s of the skipping of the cycle and finally getting to menopause at 50, but it started in her 30s. And I'm like, oh my, it makes sense. I'm connecting the dots. It makes sense. And so the things that I made a big deal, as my husband called it, I look back and like, oh my gosh, he was right. I haven't told him that, by the way. And this is between you and I. I do not plan to tell him that he was right about me making things a big deal. But he was right. Because after taking the supplement, right? Things that my husband would do that would annoy me, that would bother me. Like should be told, we all have things that somebody does that annoy us, right? Children, mother, father, friend, spouse. And there's these things that he would do that would annoy me, that I would just get upset about, angry about. And then after taking a supplement, because, you are who you are. You're going to repeat what you repeat. You're going to do what you do. And so he does it again, of course, because it's part of who he is. And I said something about it, but I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. I mean, I didn't like it. It bothered me a little bit, but I wasn't like how I would react. I didn't make a big deal out of it. I even said it, and after I said it, I laughed. I was laughing, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm laughing. I'm laughing about the thing that I would normally, And I'm like, okay. Oh, all those times I was making those things a big deal that annoy me, that I would get upset about, just angry about, or irritated about. I was already going through perimenopause, or some deficiency maybe, to where now the very exact thing that he still does that was just annoying me just last week, I'm taking this supplement to help balance my hormones. And I'm seeing that I'm responding differently to things that would actually literally aggravate me. So, there's a lot of the voices, not all. There's a lot of the voices, not all, that may be linked to menopause because of the mental state that has declined during the state of perimenopause and menopause, because there's a shift in the mind and the body. It's not just hot flashes. There's a shift in the mind and the body. And it keeps changing. It might get to the place where you don't care. They say that happens as you get older. There's a shift that happens, and that's not a bad thing. That's also a good thing, that there's things that don't bother you as much. There's things that you just don't care what people think about, and it's a good thing too. And anything that is good can also be bad when it's not balanced. But there's a shift that only happens in the body, but there's also a shift that happens in the mind. And so as we just talked about the mind. There's a shift that happens in the mind. There's also a shift that happens in the body in regards to low libido. But I want to read a little bit more, and then we're going to wrap it up, because this is a whole presentation that I'm going to talk about. And if you would like me to come to your establishment and talk about everything you need to know and how to balance your hormones, from vaginal dryness to low libido to the hot flashes to the mind shift to embracing gracefully aging, to being in love with the new you, right? To being in love with the new you. You can reach out to me at sheiswhole.org. I'll put the website description in the link below. And you can reach out to me, or if you want to get together with your girls and have a group coaching session in regards to getting your mind and body well during the stages of perimenopause and menopause, or any hormone related imbalance. Now, here is that there's a time in a woman's life may carry a general term, but it involves specific symptoms. These includes night sweats, hot flashes, low sex drive, mood swings, headaches, vaginal dryness, and weight gain. We'll be dealing with all of that. All of these that I just mentioned plays and affect the marriage in so many different ways, if you think about it. And I think that's why it's important for the husband and wife that have talk around this. But when you don't know that this is what's going on, you can't talk about it. Because if you or your spouse do not know this is what's actually going on, it's not that you don't find him attractive. It's not that you just this mean woman, an angry woman that can nothing could ever make you happy. It's not. There's something out of a woman's control that have led her to where she is now. And I think both the man and the woman herself, need to show herself grace. The man need to show the woman grace, and the woman need to show the man some grace. And so this life-changing period in a woman's life is likely to have some impact on her marriage. With divorce rates consistently near 50%, half of all couples who marry end up dissolving their union. For couples over the age of 55, the divorce rate is actually rising. A study conducted by AARP found that over 60% of divorces are initiated by women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, which happen to be also, like I mentioned before, during the menopausal years. A study in 2018 in the Journal of Menopausal Medicine found that menopause-related symptoms such as vaginal dryness and decreased sexual desire led to sexual disharmony within marriages. The study also found, however, that this disharmony could be caused by other factors such as health problems of the spouse, changing sexual expectations of men, and carry over from prior marital dissatisfaction. Now I'm going to read that again. The last part of it. The study also found, however, that this disharmony could be caused by other factors such as health problems of the spouse, which is menopause or perimenopause, changing sexual expectations of men, and carry over from prior marital dissatisfaction. And that can lead to a whole slew of issues. If the husband not feeling like he's getting love and affection from his wife, then he might go out of the marriage, or he might stay in the marriage but become resentful. There's so many things that going through perimenopause doesn't just affect the woman herself, who experiencing it so greatly, but it can also affect the people in the house, children, husband. And so I've heard where read where comments where adults who were children of mothers who had them late in years would say that their mothers were always yelling and screaming all the time. And when I read that, I'm like, she probably was going through perimenopause. And the child didn't know. And the mother probably didn't know. So it affects everyone. But it affects the woman so much more. But everyone is affected. And this is why it's important for me to hone in this subject and try to help everyone. Because I believe when you help women, you help everyone. And so this is just a touch of having that dialogue amongst yourselves. Could you be contemplating divorce? And the problem might be aggravated because of where you are mentally and physically dealing with perimenopause and menopause. And perimenopause can start as early as in your mid-30s. There are so many symptoms that people are not talking about because they're focusing on women that are in their late 40s or 50s or mid 40s or early 40s, but not in their 30s. It actually affects women also in their mid to late 30s. So if you'd like to know more, please reach out to me at sheiswhole.org. I'd love to hear from you. Please comment below, maybe something I can learn from you as well, or you can say, aha, there was an aha moment, or you experienced something similar or know someone who had experienced something similar as relates to menopause and divorce. Until next time, ladies, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.